Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health risk for October 26, 2025. We'll start by taking a look at the surface map, and it's rather simple, even though there's a lot of weather on the map. We have an active frontal zone here in the Pacific Northwest, stretching from the Dakotas across Wyoming into northern Utah and stretching all the way back through central California, with a lot of unsettled weather here in the states of Idaho through Wyoming. Looking down to the southeast, we have another active low-pressure center developing, especially across Louisiana and Arkansas, a warm front cutting through most of the south all the way through central Florida, with that cold front hanging and trying to sweep away from Texas. Otherwise, we have high pressure fleeting in the northeast. We have high pressure just holding gently in the southwest. Looking at our vitality index, which is a measure of all of the weather elements that tend to impact human health, and it is a reflection of what we've seen on the surface weather map, with a lot of activity here in the Pacific Northwest, with a strong focus in Washington, Idaho, and Montana. We have that activity in the southeast, and you can see it is starting to flee Texas, but really becoming significant across Alabama, Georgia, and down into Florida. The center of activity here in the northeast has been leaving along with that low pressure center. Looking to pressure change, and this typically is one we look at quite a bit, and you can see there isn't a lot of really significant pressure falls or rises, although in the Pacific Northwest we're seeing pressure rising, especially across Washington and Oregon, as that low pressure center starts to move into the plains. Again, temperature change. While we are falling into fall, so to speak, rather quickly, you can see that the real temperature declines are here in the Pacific Northwest behind that frontal activity, cutting across most of Montana, Idaho, down into Wyoming and Nevada. Dew point temperature change is a lot more interesting, with a lot more going on, as we have dew point temperatures rising in the southernmost sections here in the Pacific Northwest, but falling greatly behind the front itself. And then the real center of activity shows the falling dew points in Texas as that system starts to move to the east, but picking up dramatically here in the middle Mississippi Valley, the Missouri Boot Heel, and down into Alabama, Georgia, and a touch in Florida. And that is just confirmed here with the vapor, where we show more dramatically how that dew point temperature and vapor pressure is falling on the very eastern coast of Texas, but rising especially in the Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia area, and if going down into Florida. Looking at POI, which is our measure of the oxygen in the atmosphere, we can see that we do have a significant risk of migraine in the Pacific Northwest, stretching all the way from California up through Washington, Oregon, across Idaho, Montana, into the westernmost portion of the Dakotas, and hanging down here all the way through northern Utah. We do have a risk of migraine here in East Texas, and that is behind that frontal activity. We still have a lingering risk of migraine across northern Pennsylvania, much of New York, and on into New England. The center of asthma and arthritis risk is here across Minnesota into Iowa and Wisconsin, and that again is just ahead of most of this activity. And then we have a significant risk of asthma and arthritis here in the southeast, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, picking up portions of eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and into West Virginia, but very much dominating the portions of Florida. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated, and if you hurt, let us know where you're